What if I told you that the songs you still hum and constantly put on repeat, the ones that helped you get through heartbreaks and late-night trips, were written by people the industry underappreciated? From the singer Sunshine Anderson, whose songs give voice to strong, self-assured women who don't settle, to Keke Wyatt's voice that makes you halt in the middle of a conversation and wonder, wait, who is that? Here are 15 underrated R&B singers you forgot existed. Number 1. Nahum Thornton Grimes. Jay Holiday was born Nahum Thornton Grimes on November 29, 1984, in Washington, D.C., and was surrounded by music throughout his childhood. He was raised by his preacher mother and was greatly impacted by gospel, Joe Dacey, Donny Hathaway, and Marvin Gaye. His sultry tenor voice with a hint of passion was influenced by his profound roots. Back of My Lack, Jay Holiday's debut album, launched him into the spotlight in 2007. This album had the ideal blend of streetwise swagger and beautiful slow songs. The crown jewel, the single Bed. Bed, which was produced by The Dream and Los de Mistro, was remembered right away because it was simple yet immensely seductive and had an unforgettable hook. It topped the R&B charts and soared to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. Across the nation, the song swiftly established itself as a mainstay for late-night playlists and wedding slow dances. But there were other highlights besides Bed. Songs like Pimpin' Me and Suffocate demonstrated Jay Holiday's ability to strike a balance between self-assured seduction and unguarded vulnerability. The album had a great start for a new singer with a unique style, debuting at number 5 on the Billboard 200. But after that, things weren't always easy. 2009 saw the release of his second album, Round 2, which had a more polished, mature sound. Fans anticipated a grown-man atmosphere from the opening track, It's Yours. Unfortunately, however, Capitol Records did not provide any backing for the record. Almost any promotion was done, and the project soon lost its prominence. Things became more difficult after Round 2. The music industry was rapidly evolving. Pop influence, strong auto-tune, and trap beats were becoming increasingly prevalent in R&B. Jay Holiday, however, stuck to his sacred beginnings by emphasizing authentic, poignant storytelling. Regretfully, that meant he lost the attention of the general public. However, Jay Holiday continued to produce. His self-published album, Guilty Conscience, which included honest and introspective songs like Incredible and Where Are You Now, was released in 2014. Even if it didn't chart, it demonstrated his love and commitment to real R&B. He continued to satisfy devoted fans yearning for that vintage slow jam sound with the covert release of Time in 2022. Craving real R&B? Think Jay Holiday, true slow jam icon. Number 2. Sunshine Anderson. Sunshine Jocelyn. Cyan Anderson is from North Carolina's Winston-Salem. Prior to her success as a musician, she attended North Carolina Central University to study criminal justice. Fate, however, had other plans. She had her debut when producer Mike City, who has worked with musicians like Carl Thomas and Brandy, saw her. Sunshine signed up with Soul Life Records, eager to showcase her distinct voice to the world, under his mentorship and with a little assistance from R&B artist Macy Gray. Sunshine released her first album, Your Woman, in 2001. A scathing, witty song for anybody sick of their partner's deception, the lead track, Heard It All Before, became an immediate classic. The song became a top 20 smash on the Billboard Hot 100 and rose to number 3 on the R&B charts. Her silky yet rough voice gave the song a self-assured, no-nonsense tone that appealed to fans sick of the usual heartache songs. But Heard It All Before was only the start. Other jewels on the album were the more silent ballad, Crazy Love, which demonstrated her flexibility, and the bouncy, flirtatious rhythm, Lunch or Dinner. Sunshine emerged as a new and captivating force in R&B, when Your Woman reached platinum. Although Sunshine had a great start, there were challenges along the way. After switching labels and taking some time to develop her craft, she released Sunshine at Midnight in 2007 via Music World Entertainment, which Beyoncé's father, Matthew Knowles, created. With songs like Something I Want to Give You and Force of Nature, the album had a more mature and thoughtful tone, but it had trouble becoming popular in the rapidly changing R&B scene. The Sun Shines Again, her self-released album from 2010, demonstrated her perseverance and development as an artist. Loyal fans embraced it despite its commercial underwhelmingness because they valued her soulful voice and honest composition. Sunshine Anderson's voice, which is honest, gritty, and raspy, evokes a time when R&B conveyed stories with heart and grit. Although she walked away from the spotlight, her songs are still popular in R&B and neo-soul circles because they give voice to strong, self-assured women who don't settle. Number 3. Donald Jones. On May 22, 1973, Donald Jones was born in Chicago's South Side. His father was a gospel singer, thus he was constantly surrounded by music. However, as a teenager, Donald became interested in hip-hop and R&B, penning songs that captured the aspirations and hardships of young black males in urban America. One of the smoothest voices in R&B history is Donald Jones. As a composer and producer in the late 1990s and early 2000s, Donald initially gained recognition in the industry by writing songs for musicians such as Monica and 702. However, his own songs were what really struck a chord with his audience because of his emotional songs and smooth voice. His bright career began in 1996 with the release of his debut album, My Heart. The album Where I Want to Be, released in 1999, was his next big hit. This album changed everything. Hits like Tim and Bob's mid-tempo groove, You Know What's Up, and the heartfelt ballad, This Love, demonstrated Donald's ability to build both slick tunes and poignant narratives. When Where I Want to Be peaked at number 6 on the Billboard 200, it was not only a commercial triumph, but also a significant milestone for R&B fans. I Don't Care, a moving Stevie Wonder version, and Knocks Me Off My Feet were among the songs that addressed the highs, lows, and all in between in actual relationships. Donald recorded a number of more albums over the following 10 years, including Life Goes On, Journey of a Gemini, and The Lost Files. All of these albums had his trademark mellow vocals and intensely intimate lyrics. He never achieved Where I Want to Be's level of commercial success, but his perseverance won him a loyal fan base. His lyrics have depth. He would sing about love, regret, temptation, and mistakes, but he would never sugarcoat the difficulty of maintaining a relationship. He had no desire to become a famous person. He was being genuine. Number 4. Amel Larrieux. Amel Larrieux is more than simply an R&B vocalist. She is an experience. A lyrical, spiritual, and genre-bending voice that has a subtle yet profound impact on the soul and neo-soul movements. On March 8, 1973, Amel Larrieux was born in New York City. She originally became well known as one half of the duet Groove Theory, which in the mid-1990s created a new, sophisticated sound by fusing R&B with jazz and hip-hop elements. Tell Me, a smash song from Groove Theory's self-titled debut album, was released in 1995. The mesmerizing beat and Amel's smooth voice made the song a neo-soul anthem. Amel chose to quit the group in order to pursue a solo career. However, following the success of the record, Amel Larrieux's first solo album, Infinite Possibilities, was released in 2000. It was a masterfully composed compilation of songs that blended R&B, jazz, and soul. The lyrics touched on spirituality, love, and self-discovery. Get Up, a notable tune, showcased her bold vocal range and creative prowess. Amel's music stands out for its complex melodies and personal lyrics. She has published a number of albums over the years, such as Brave Bird, Morning, and Ice Cream Every Day, all of which bear witness to her developing artistic abilities and dedication to musical integrity. Amel has written and worked with several musicians in addition to her solo work, which has influenced the neo-soul movement and other genres. She has a distinct voice in the music industry because of her style, which blends the adventurous energy of modern R&B with the emotional depth of classic soul. Despite not being well known, Amel Larrieux had a significant influence. People looking for depth, beauty, and soulfulness love her music. She is a genuine artist. Number 5. Sherry Watson. The artist Sherry Watson, better known by her stage name Truth Hurts, is truly worthy of recognition. In the 1990s, Sherry Watson began her musical career as a songwriter and support vocalist. She refined her abilities behind the scenes by working with industry icons like DJ Quick, Timbaland, and Dr. Dre. Her breakthrough track, Addictive, starring Rakim and produced by DJ Quick, was released in 2002. The song became a radio and club mainstay and a huge smash, peaking at number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was hard to ignore because of Truth Hurts' soulful delivery and appealing chorus. The main song from her debut album, Truthfully Speaking, was Addictive. With songs like Sorry, which showcased her strong vocal range and emotional honesty, the album combined elements of contemporary hip-hop with traditional soul. Following her debut, she put out Ready Now in 2004, an album that had a more sophisticated, nuanced vocal delivery and leaned more toward organic soul. Throughout the 2010s, she kept putting out tracks and working on her own, adjusting to the changing music scene by interacting with fans directly through mixtapes and digital releases. She has demonstrated that she is resilient beyond financial success in recent years by embracing live performances and being active in the underground R&B scene. Truth Hurts fought with her label and kept up the popular momentum despite the success of Addictive. She discreetly stepped away from the limelight, and her subsequent projects didn't get the same kind of publicity. She was more than simply a one-hit wonder. She was an artist entangled in the web of legal red tape, industry politics, and poor timing. However, her voice? Remarkable even now. Truth Hurts remained loyal to her unadulterated, soulful R&B approach while continuing to write music on her own and with other musicians. She is still revered by people who recall the heyday of the R&B movement in the early 2000s. Number 6. Glenn Lewis. Canadian-born R&B artist Glenn Lewis has one of the smoothest voices of the early 2000s. Glenn's deep style and poignant lyrics made him a notable musician in the neo-soul genre, despite his frequent disregard in the mainstream. His fondness for soulful melodies was shaped by his early exposure to gospel and jazz, as well as the fact that he was raised in a musical household. To further his musical career, he relocated to the U.S., where he soon became well known for his smooth delivery and remarkable vocal range. Glenn's debut album, World Outside My Window, was published in 2002 and featured his emotive storytelling and smooth voice. Don't You Forget It, the initial single, turned into a breakthrough smash. It was a heartfelt, mid-tempo love ballad that rose in the Billboard R&B charts and received praise from critics. In addition to being a radio hit, Don't You Forget It made Glenn a star and earned him a Juno Award for Best R&B Soul Recording. The album featured poignant songs like Back for More and Fall Again, which combined elements of contemporary R&B with vintage soul. The voice of Glenn Lewis combines contemporary R&B coolness with vintage tenderness. Because of his song's ability to evoke strong emotions, vivid imagery, and narratives, he is frequently likened to Stevie Wonder. In an industry where flashier sounds predominate, his personal music, which resembles a late-night discussion, earned him a loyal fan base but no radio exposure. Notwithstanding his impressive debut, Glenn's problems with his label caused subsequent projects to be postponed. Moment of Truth, his second album, was released over an extended period of time, and, although having high-caliber content, didn't get the same recognition as his first. As a talented musician with a timeless sound who didn't receive the widespread recognition his talent deserved, Glenn Lewis epitomizes underrated. When you come across this artist on a late-night playlist, you might ask yourself, why haven't I heard this before? His songs serve as a reminder that genuine talent may occasionally be found in soul and nuance, rather than merely chart places. Next up is another underrated gem, serving up heartfelt vibes and sultry grooves. Number 7. Tidra Shanita Moses. Tidra Shanita Moses was born in New York City on June 10, 1976. Having been influenced by performers such as Lauryn Hill and Mary J. Blige, she stands out in a crowded industry with her fusion of silky R&B and hip-hop soul. Everything Tidra sings, even whether discussing heartache, progress, or luxury, is influenced by gospel, jazz, and Southern soul, as her mother was a gospel singer. However, Tidra did not enter the game in the conventional manner. Before choosing to take the stage herself, she worked in the industry as a wardrobe stylist, outfitting celebrities like Macy Gray, Will Smith, and No Doubt. Complex Simplicity, Tidra's debut album, which was the game changer, was released in 2004. It was a really intimate and soulful song that blended candid narration with sensual slow grooves. Despite not reaching the top of the charts, the album was well regarded in the R&B scene. She demonstrated her smoky, expressive voice and incisive composition in singles like Be Your Girl and You Better Tell Her. Her ability to combine power with tenderness, which is a defining characteristic of her music, was seen in songs like I Think of You. Moses remained undaunted and released her second album, Cognac and Conversation, which demonstrated her maturity and musical development. She embraced freedom and used live performances and internet channels to engage with her fans directly, staying active in the R&B and soul scene. Tidra never achieved widespread fame, but her impact is evident. Many musicians who came after her were influenced by the more reflective, genuine R&B style she helped to establish. Her voice is a genuine artist's tool. It is unpolished, yet exquisite. Tidra Moses has persisted in creating music on her own over the years, putting out mixtapes and joint ventures that highlight her development and adaptability. Fans of R&B and neo-soul who prefer substance to hype continue to love her. Number 8. Dave Hollister. R&B singer Dave Hollister was a force in the 1990s and early 2000s. He was able to infuse each note with a combination of street wisdom, grown man honesty, and soul from the church. Blackstreet and his solo successes may have made you familiar with him, but his backstory is far more complex. Dave LaShane Hollister, born August 17, 1968, in Chicago, Illinois, was literally brought up in the gospel because his mother was a preacher, and he began singing in the church at an early age. His family has a long history of music. His cousin is Kasai Haley from Jodeci. Dave was a founding member of Blackstreet, the renowned R&B group founded by super producer Teddy Riley prior to going solo. In 1994, he provided the main vocals for their debut single, Before I Let You Go. That voice, buttery, Dave was that person. However, Dave left to pursue a solo career shortly after their debut album, which resulted in some of the most authentic grown man R&B of the early 2000s. Dave's breakthrough solo album, Ghetto Hymns, was published in 1999. My Favorite Girl, the lead song, was an honest hymn about realizing who you really are after getting sidetracked by the others. It was grown, not merely smooth. However, what is the true highlight? The raw and intimate confessional "Can't Stay" explores emotional maturity and responsibility. It demonstrated that Dave was singing for the men who were striving to get it right, not simply the charts. His sequel, Chicago '85, the movie, has the feel of a musical autobiography. The memorable song "One Woman Man" turned into a classic. It was a sincere promise of loyalty that sounded like an anthem for adult men. Dave's reputation as a storyteller, and more than simply a singer, was cemented when it reached the R&B top 10. Dave kept releasing albums that prioritized content above trends throughout the 2000s. Spirituality, atonement, and relationships were the main themes of albums like Things in the Game Done Changed, The Book of David, and Witness Protection. He frequently referred to his approach as ghetto gospel, since it was grounded in the truth, even when it caused pain. Dave Hollister introduced honesty to R&B with his solo career, Black Street, and his subsequent gospel-influenced music. People who have lived, learnt, and are constantly learning are the target audience for his songs. A soulful vocalist in every way. Number 9. Tiffany Cobb. Blue was born into a musical family. Blue's mother was a jazz vocalist, and her work is influenced by jazz in many ways, including her phrasing, vocal control, and capacity to transform even heartbreak into art. Blue's debut album, So Blue, was released in 2001 and immediately became popular. Hit 'em Up Style, Oops, was the main single. Bite, sass, and swagger characterized this revenge song, which became an enormous success and peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was intelligent as well as catchy. Blue changed the narrative by advocating for women to be strong and not emotional. However, So Blue was more than simply a single hit. With tracks like Till I'm Gone and I Can't Believe, which showcased her vocal range and compositional abilities, the album was a fusion of jazz, R&B, and hip-hop. Blue was an actual vocalist, not simply a pop performer. Her second album, Bittersweet, which included the worldwide hit song Breathe with Sean Paul, was released in 2003. The song was a worldwide smash and peaked at number 1 in the UK. Blue demonstrated her ability to merge R&B with international sounds while staying true to herself with her catchy G-Funk sample and her effortlessly smooth delivery. She has contributed depth and richness to several classic recordings as a backup voice for performers like Lauryn Hill and Mary J. Blige. Although her solo work is less well known, it demonstrates her ability to use flawless vocal phrasing to convey unfiltered emotion. Blue Cantrell had difficulties throughout her career despite her early popularity. In recent years, she has avoided the public glare and stayed rather solitary. Cantrell was sent to the hospital in September 2014 following an incident in Santa Monica, California, when she claimed to have been poisoned and displayed erratic behavior. After that, she was arrested for a mental health evaluation. Blue's momentum in the U.S. industry stalled despite her early success. A congested market, changing R&B trends, and label politics all contributed. She maintained her reputation as a renowned musician despite everything, particularly in Europe and among real R&B enthusiasts who can spot vocal potential. Number 10. Adriana Evans. Adriana Evans was born in San Francisco and had always been meant to be a musician. Her mother, Mary Stallings, is a well-known jazz vocalist who collaborated with artists such as Dizzy Gillespie and Count Basie. Adriana's work is rooted in that jazz heritage, but what about her style? It's all hers. Evans creates a sound that is unconventional by fusing jazz, hip-hop, Afrobeat, and soul. Imagine Lauryn Hill meets Sade with a dash of international flair. Adriana Evans, her self-titled debut album, was published by Loud Records in 1997. At a time when neo-soul was only starting to gain popularity, it was a daring move. Dred Scott produced the album, and the two of them combined to produce a deep, analog-rich, groove-driven sound that was distinct from the mainstream R&B of the time. Adriana's sultry, easygoing voice and her ability to make spiritual reflection seem seductive were on display in songs like Love Is All Around and Seein' Is Believing. Particularly among crate diggers and underground soul enthusiasts, the record was a modest triumph. Despite not reaching the top of the charts, it matured like a good wine. After a short hiatus, Adriana returned in 2004 with her second project, Nomadic, and she returned transformed. Nomadic's time spent in Brazil had an effect on her preference for Afrobeat, samba, and jazz. Songs like Heaven and 7 Days exposed listeners to a sound that was transcending genres, spiritual and global. With a passport, it was neo-soul. Walking with the Night and El Camino, her subsequent albums, carried on her fusion of Afro-diasporic rhythms, poetic language, and organic instrumentation. Since Adriana Evans created music for the soul rather than the charts, she never pursued radio. She is an artist who has maintained her sense of self. She is more than simply an R&B singer. She is a soul sister, a jazz poet, and a musical explorer. Despite her little effect, it is significant. Her fingerprints are there in the DNA of innumerable contemporary soul and alternative R&B musicians that prioritize authenticity above algorithm. Number 11. Keke Wyatt. Keke Wyatt is unmatched in R&B when it comes to vocal strength alone, heartfelt, unrepentant, unstoppable. Her voice causes you to pause in the middle of a discussion and ask yourself, wait, who is that? Keke grew up in a home that was very religious and musical. Her father was a church organist, and her mother sang. Not surprisingly, Keke started singing at the age of 2, and by the time she was 5, she had recorded her first gospel song. Her music is still shaped by the gospel, soul, and R&B she was exposed to as a child. With her heartfelt duet with Avant, My First Love, Keke shot to fame in 2001. Her voice and chemistry were indisputable. Keke, who was technically perfect, emotionally charged, and powerfully expressive, took center stage and immediately established herself as a vocal powerhouse. Her first album, Soul Sista, went gold the same year and included classics like Used to Love and Nothing in This World. A lengthy, hit-filled career was predicted by this type of debut. Keke's journey wasn't without challenges, though. Her progress was hindered by label problems, personal hardships, and a music industry that frequently didn't know how to handle a lady with her level of vocal ability. But she persisted. By singing live as if her life depended on it, and participating in reality series like R&B Divas, Atlanta, where her vocal prowess and unvarnished personality attracted new audiences, Keke developed her fan base via perseverance and God-given ability. Keke has put out a number of works throughout the years, such as Rated Love, Unbelievable, and Who Knew. Each one demonstrated her versatility, both emotionally and vocally. Keke Wyatt always gives it her all, whether she's riffing through a gospel breakdown or screaming out a ballad. There aren't many vocalists that can match her in terms of runs, riffs, control, power, and agility. She is one of your favorite vocalists, and you listen to her with wonder. Keke's life narrative is one of strength, even outside of her music. She is a mother of 11 children who has handled her work, family, tragedy, and faith with grace and openness. Keke is not only a singer, she gives a statement. Number 12. Eric Roberson. The name Eric Roberson should be on your radar if you enjoy genuine, emotional R&B and neo-soul. With his straightforward compositions, smooth voice, and independent attitude, Eric, known as the King of Indie Soul, has quietly amassed a loyal fan base. Eric Roberson was born in Rahway, New Jersey in 1976. and was influenced by hip-hop, gospel, and vintage soul music as a child. However, Eric blazed his own trail early on and became one of the forerunners of the independent soul movement, in contrast to many musicians who strive for the mainstream limelight. Eric's music combines hip-hop and contemporary soul elements with the silky sounds of classic R&B. He demonstrated his ability to develop and produce songs that felt both timeless and new in his 2004 album, The Vault Vol. 1. His talent for rhythm and narrative was evident in songs like Dealing and In the Mood, which became favorites among fans. Eric is unique not just because of his voice, which is rich and expressive, but also because of his dedication to self-reliance. Eric has retained creative control over his music and career while operating largely outside the influence of major labels, demonstrating that you don't need a huge label to have a strong connection with an audience. Eric Roberson has put out a number of albums and EPs throughout the years, such as Music Fan First, Mr. Nice Guy, and No Vacancy. Every project keeps delivering heartfelt rhythms and reflective lyrics that speak to love, heartache, and personal development. Eric Roberson is a must-listen for anybody hoping to learn about authentic soul creativity with a contemporary twist. His music serves as a reminder that one may leave their own legacy via hard effort, passion, and honesty. Number 13. Bingham, Yummy Gainey. Yummy Bingham was a talented singer and composer who, in spite of her extraordinary skill, was not well known in the R&B industry. Yummy's sweet yet strong voice infused early 2000s R&B with new vitality and passion. Yummy was literally brought up in the music industry because her father was a producer and one of the founding members of the renowned band, the Whatnots. She joined the female group Tha Rain and began singing at a young age before starting her own career. Yummy's singing range and creative abilities were on full display in her solo first album, The First Seed. The album combined lively songs and seductive ballads with a contemporary R&B vibe. Her talent to produce memorable hooks and expressive vocals was demonstrated by songs like Come Get It. In addition to her solo work, Yummy had a big influence as a songwriter and collaborator. Her talents go well beyond the microphone, as seen by the songs she has written for well-known performers like Faith Evans, Keisha Cole, and Mary J. Blige. Yummy struggled with marketing and label backing in the early 2000s, much like a lot of other gifted musicians. Even though her solo first album received positive reviews, it didn't receive the necessary promotion, which hindered its commercial success. Yummy Bingham's contributions to R&B as a singer and songwriter have had a lasting impact on the genre, despite the fact that she was never a household star. True R&B fans still find her voice to be a hidden gem. Number 14. Bilal Saeed Oliver. Bilal was born and raised in a musically supportive and culturally diverse family in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania's Germantown area. Due to the fact that his father was Muslim and his mother was Christian, Bilal was exposed to a wide range of spiritual and cultural influences from a young age. His worldview and artistic abilities were profoundly impacted by this blending of religious and cultural elements, which are frequently evident in the spiritual themes of his songs. Bilal has always been interested in music. He began singing in church choirs at the age of 11 and was soon leading the group, showcasing his early leadership and musical ability. Bilal was exposed to the sounds of jazz greats at the several Philadelphia jazz clubs his jazz-loving father took him to. His varied approach, which skillfully combines jazz, soul, R&B, and hip-hop, was shaped by his early exposure to gospel and jazz music. Firstborn Second, Bilal's debut album, brought him widespread recognition. The album was a modern neo-soul masterpiece, with notable tunes like Soul Sista and Love It, and was produced by industry titans like Raphael Saadiq. He was a brand new R&B sensation because of his varied style and deep, expressive voice. Bilal wasn't satisfied with being cautious, though. In 2006, Love for Sale, his unreleased second album, leaked online and became an underground legend. Although it divided listeners, Bilal's avant-garde approach and experimental soundscapes defied conventional R&B conventions, solidifying his reputation as a musician committed to pushing musical limits. Bilal has kept up his evolution throughout the years, working with musicians from a variety of genres, including hip-hop legends like Kendrick Lamar and jazz great Robert Glasper. His development as a genre-defying musician is demonstrated by albums like Airtight's Revenge and In Another Life, which skillfully combine hip-hop, jazz, funk, and soul. Bilal's voice is a force to be reckoned with. It is rich in emotional depth, spans several octaves, and conveys both raw intensity and silky smoothness. The sort of artist he is, he consistently bestows fresh levels of genius on his patient audience. Number 15. Jonathan David Buck. Jonathan was a musical genius from an early age. From a young age, he was captivated by R&B, soul, and funk, while his parents were classical musicians. His mother played concert piano, his father tutored music, and both his sister and brother were accomplished musicians. Before most people recognized John's name, he was writing songs and producing music, thanks to influences like Prince, Marvin Gaye, and Babyface. With his Grammy-nominated duet Someone to Love with none other than Babyface, his debut album Bonafide launched him into the spotlight in 1995. The loving, emotional, and genuine tone of the song established John's career. John achieved the ideal combination of streetwise soul and loverboy smoothness in songs like They Don't Know and Are You Still Down, which featured Tupac. John B. may not have made the most news, but his influence was profound. Not only did he contribute to the R&B movement, but he was one of the few white musicians who entered it with complete respect for the culture. He was accepted by audiences who could hear and sense the sincerity in every note, and he gained credibility from his colleagues. John has put out a number of albums over the years, including Pleasures You Like, Stronger Every Day, Helpless Romantic, and Comfortable Swag. All of these albums have remained consistent to his distinctive style, which is romantic, melodic, and mature. Without sacrificing the qualities that first drew listeners to his music, he kept growing. The finer edges of R&B and even the sound of new-school crooners who combine vulnerability and soul bear John B.'s influence. Even while his collection speaks for itself, he may never have been the loudest person in the room. To uncover more intriguing stories among Hollywood celebrities, don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.